Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Jef right now. However, just again, a little bit of a notice to not forget to register in the Teachers Lab that's going to start, that's going to be our last group of sessions. Please do that at the information desk to help us organize things a little bit more. Now let me introduce Dr. Jef. So Dr. Jef Staes is an authority on learning processes and innovative organizations. After a career as corporate learning officer in Siemens, Belgium, he currently assists CEOs and organizations in schools to find a comprehensive answer to the changing dynamics of today's market. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Jef. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Jef. Thank you for inviting me for this conference about education, but louder, higher. This is better? Louder? Okay. Okay, we'll try again. So everybody understands me now? It's loud enough? No? No loud enough? Louder? Okay, I don't think it's going to be much louder, but I think it's okay now. It's okay? Louder now? I will speak louder myself then. Okay, so thank you for attending this session. This year I became 61. Is there someone in the room who is older than 60? Older than 60? I never worked harder than today. I'm so passionate about what I do. When I go to sleep, I feel sorry I have to sleep, because otherwise I can work 24 hours a day. So what I'm going to tell you about today is something that is happening in the world. And the world is shifting to something else, and that's the reason why the title of the presentation is Education in Search of a New Balance. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to tweet, this is my Jef Staes. You can tweet in Egyptian. I never had tweets in Egyptian, so that would be fun. I can't read them, but that would be fun. So what I'm going to do is the next thing. I will tell a story about what is happening today and why education doesn't innovate fast enough. Education itself doesn't change fast enough. And in order to change fast, you have to destroy things you have. And that's the question. So education can change tomorrow. It's possible, but it is not allowed, because a lot of people don't allow it the change to happen. So what I'm going to tell you today is a story about what has to be done and what has to happen. So it's going to be a kind of an awakening. It's a wake-up call. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to tell you 9 stories about disruption. And if you understand these stories about disruption, you know what you have to do. So the first story is about information. And I started to work in '79 in telecommunication. I was a software engineer. Started to work on digital switches. And what happened since then, and I will show you, is this thing. In 1777, we started with the Industrial Revolution. So we said, people at home, you have to work in industry. And that's the moment when education started to boom, because we needed people who were educated to work in companies. And then we added steam, steel, oil, and today, in '71, we started with information technology, and we started with telecommunication. And if today, if you want to know something from somebody else, you don't have to pick up a phone and dial a number, but today you can use everything from the internet. And this is the first digital wave. It's more the digitalization of information. And today we are connected. We are using everything. It's not okay. I tried the other one?
Switch this one off.
This one off? wow.
It's much better? Oh God, there's a lot of sound testing, okay. So what is happening? The world is changing very rapidly. And in order to explain what is happening, I started to tell a story about change. And we are coming from a time frame which I call 2D. And this is happening with information. But I was born in 56. And in 56 there wasn't information. I couldn't learn at home. I had to go to a school. Because my parents, they didn't go to school. And my sister, she went to work when she was 13 years old. That's how it was like. So we had to go to school to learn. And it was really flat. But now we have this information explosion, and today we have information luxury. And because of this information luxury, everybody can learn at home. So you really don't have to go to school anymore. It's very strange. We go to school, but at the same time we know that everybody can learn everything at home. So why do we go to school? To get a degree and to get a diploma. But I will tell you, we're going to a time frame where you don't need diplomas and degrees, because everybody can learn every time. And so what is happening, it's changing very fast, and it's not flat anymore. It's what I call 3D, the third dimension, chaos. And what is happening today with the world is changing from there to there, very rapidly, very fast. And what we see now is that if we talk about this is happening. And everybody knows Darwin. I know Darwin. He's talking about evolution. And he said, well, we see today two species. The species that are called 2D smarts, people who are born of my age, have a university degree or whatever degree, and have value. And I see the 3D smarts, which are people who are passionate and talented and learn every day, don't have a university degree, but learn every day. And what we see today is a battle between these two. And most of the time these are our children. And these are we. And this is our educational system. And this is how they learn. And this battle is very bad. It's happening right now. So what happens is, we first have to understand where we are coming from. We are coming, and it still is. We have an educational system. And just read the text. Today in education, you don't get a degree or a diploma because you have passion and talents. No. You get a degree because you succeeded in studying stuff you didn't like to study. You got a degree because you have discipline and intelligence, not you have passion and talent. If you would have passion and talent, you would go to work much sooner. But no. You have to study stuff you don't like. And what happens then you go to work. And you think, well, I got my university degree or degree. Can it get any worse? Yes, it can. It can, because then you go to work in a company, in a 2D organization, and the first thing they ask is your degree. And it's just a sheet of paper where a professor says, he is not as smart as I am, he's not as smart as I am, and he studies stuff he didn't like to study. That's your degree. When you do that for a long time, you become a university degree. And then in this company, you get a function description. Do we have function descriptions in your company? It's a sheet of paper that says what you have to do. And then after here, you have an appraisal talk. And you know what appraisal talk is. It's your manager who tells you whether you are good or not good. But it's not an appraisal talk. It's always bad news. It's always bad news, because your manager says to you, well, this is okay, but this is not okay. And then you tell your manager, well, it's not okay because it's not my passion and my talent. And then your manager tells you, do you really think you're here to do what you like to do? And then he sends you to a course to do better what you don't like to do. That's your training plan. If you're really lucky, that's what we call competence management. And it's the same thing in every country, all over the world. You can keep your function if you do this thing better, what you don't like to do. But I don't know a lot of bosses who say, you're really good at that, keep doing that, and for the stuff you don't like to do,
I will try to find something else, because then you become smarter than your manager, and then he has a problem. So what happens is, and this is a sheep, I'm so sorry, I use a sheep, but this guy, he said it, if you put fences around people, because you can't use your passion and talent, people become sheep. And the only thing they start doing is meh, 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 all day long. And they say, it's not weekend yet, meh, meh, and Monday you have to work, meh, and when can I go on a pension, meh. So a lot of sheep. And the reason why is because the whole educational system is built on degrees, and the whole road to work is built on function descriptions. So what do we have to do? And this is the thing, in most organizations today, you don't get work because you have passion and talents. No, you get work because you have to do a function description with a degree, so you have proven that you can study stuff without passion and talent. So, and if you look to this, so what is the result? And this is research. The result is today that 80% of people don't have the passion to go to work. 80% of people go to work just to get a salary. 80% of people are not engaged. 80% of people don't really learn. 80% of people do the whole day meh. And this is a problem. Because we have to change the system. We have to find out how can we build educational systems and how can we build work environments where people have the passion to suffer, where people want to learn. So I start to think about what do we have to do. And luckily, today, we see a wave, I call it the 3D smart wave, of people who are passionate and talented and learn every day, and they are changing the world. You can't keep them off changing. They are changing the world. So I start to think about what are 3D smarts. And I call it 3D smarting. I don't call it anymore learning. I don't call it working. I gave it a new name. I said 3D smarts, totally 3D smarting. And I'm going to explain what I mean with that. The thing is that relearning only happens when you're in a groove with your talents. Please tweet it. I woke up with this quote. Relearning only happens when you're in a groove with your talents. And then the first question we have to ask, what is a talent? And you know what a talent is? It's the reason why you were born. It's the reason why you are here. Because you were born with talents. And if you have talents and you use them, you do the things better than somebody who doesn't have the talents. It's your destination. But we don't know our talents. We are born and there is no sheet of paper on us and that says, hey Jeff, these are your talents, go. They forgot it. And people talk about diversity. Diversity has nothing to do with the color of your skin. That's the paint of nature. You can't get it off. Real diversity has to do with what's in you. So I start to think about, if we talk about talents, how can we discover talents? We don't know it. I don't know my talents. I didn't know I was going to be a keynote speaker. I didn't know. I was afraid to speak when I was 5. So I didn't know. So how do you discover talents? And there is one word which is very nice, and it's called passion. And I didn't know before some years, but if you look up the word passion in a dictionary, it says suffering. So if you say passion, at the same time you say suffering. If you're an athlete and you say I'm a passionate athlete, you can see him suffer. He trains, he learns, he hurts, he revalidates. It's the same thing when you're in love. If you're passionate in love, you suffer. If there is no suffering, you're not in love. You understand what I'm saying? So the word passion has something. Now, if passion means suffering, Do we want to suffer for a long time? No. And how can you suffer less? By learning. And this is what is changing today. If you are passionate to suffer in something, then you start learning. And you saw it in the keynote this morning. Children, if they have the passion to suffer, they start learning. And they learn, and they learn, and they learn. I can know your passion. If you give me access 6 months to Google, I know your passion. Do you know what it is? It's what you study when you're not at work. Because if you're at home and you don't Google about work, you're not passionate. Because if you're at work and you don't Google from home, you're not passionate in home either. You want to Google about traveling, etc. So you can't put off passion. If you're in love, you can't say, I'm in love for 5 hours and then put it off. It doesn't work that way. If you're passionate about something, it's a 24-hour thing. And you can be passionate about a lot of stuff, but it's 24 hours a day. So what happens now, imagine that you have the passion to suffer, and it's in your talent, and you learn every day, and you do something. You could become the best, and you know how it is. You get a reward by dopamine. It's in your brain. Your brain releases dopamine, and it says, yes. You saw it on the video, children who says, yes, I got it. That's what I call intrinsic motivation. And when you got this feeling, that's what we call flow. And that's the reason why you get out of your bed, and that's the reason why you don't want to sleep. It's in you. But it's not in you if you have to do stuff but not in flow with your talents, because then you don't get dopamine, because you're not the best. And then you become competent. So this is for me a guidance. And I think educational systems should find a way that our children go to school and find out who they are, and they go home and they say, Dad, Mother, I got so much energy. I want to keep going on school. And today we have a system that children go home and they say, I don't want to go to school anymore. But it's the same thing in work. So what happens now is this thing. The two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. And why? Because you got addicted to your talents. There's nothing wrong with getting addicted to yourself. There are much worse things. So you get up in the morning and said, yes, today I will get dopamine because I'm addicted to myself. What's the problem with that? If you are addicted to yourself, you don't want to go on a pension. You don't do meh. You're just you. So why can't we create a system of education where people discover themselves? The sooner the better, because it's too late and you can't use your talents anymore. I think that's the real goal of education. So what happens now, this is learning. And learning is a physical process. 3D is smart and bright. So what I did is, this is thing what is learning. Learning happens in your brain. And I produced something on my 3D printer. I will show it later on. But what is learning? It's magic. Because what happens if you learn, then this is all the information you can get. You can find videos, internet, people on the internet. You can have live chats, you can this, whatever. And what the brain does, it sucks up information. And the information goes into the brain, and then you get neural connections. That's learning. It's a physical process. You don't feel it. It doesn't hurt. Learning doesn't hurt. That's the reason why you can't keep on learning until your brain malfunctions. But learning is also giving information. Because if children explain something to other children, they are both learning. The person who explains it, he produces new neural connections. So what is learning? Learning is breathing in and breathing out information. And this is something you have to do your whole life. So I got a 3D printer at home. And I show you what is learning. I put this micro over there because I need my two hands. This is learning. This happens in your brain. This is passion. The passion to suffer. And then you inhale information. And when you give information, then it burns also. So this is learning. And this happens with children when they are small. And then they have to go to school for a degree and they have to study things where they don't like to do, and it's out. And then they got a degree, not because they are using their passion and talents, because they would learn every day. If you have children in school who learn every day, they become a surgeon when they are 18, not when they are 27. And imagine that's how you go to work. It's a completely different environment. This is learning. Never forget it anymore. It's happening in your brain. It's also the symbol of creativity. It's the same stuff. So this is the brain. So what happens is that this happened. 3D smarts are bright. And these 3D smarts are changing the world. Why? Because that's innovation. 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 And you know what innovation is? It's very easy. The amount of information is increasing. 3D smarts are so eager to learn. They want to change. They want to develop. They want to create. So they learn. And then in their brain they have a light. Creativity. And then they go look for resources. Crowdsourcing, crowdfunding. They find the money. And then they produce new products. And then when the product worked, it disrupts everything. And then it's copied. And this goes further and further and further. And I see something. This goes faster and faster and faster and faster. And you know what is happening with the world. It's easy. It's starting. Like 3D printing or drones, connected houses, Internet of Things, Uber. We have 3D printing, we have Airbnb, we have gamification at work, we have live streaming, we have virtual reality, or we have robotics, we have Kickstarter projects, we have connected cars, we have connected humans, internet medicine, we have flipped classroom, we have new materials, we have virtual reality, we have new energy sources, we have artificial intelligence, we're talking about the sharing economy, we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about circular economies, we're talking about new ways of democracies, and we're talking about basic income. Do you really think this is produced by sheep? This is produced by people who are in the flow with their passion and talents and learn every day. And you know the impact? The impact of this thing? This thing. A lot of people don't know anymore what is happening. Or this thing. 2D managers are out of control. Or this thing. A lot of organizations are losing. Get broke. Or this thing. What are we waiting for? So if we talk about this thing, everything is changing. So why can't educational change faster? Much faster. You have to disrupt education. If we don't disrupt education, we can't solve problems like climate change, aging, migration. We can't solve it. We have to use the passion and talents of people to find solutions. They have to get the passion to suffer in their talents to solve everything what my generation has done wrong. Because we didn't know. So we need young people. So what happens? Organizations are looking for a new balance. And what is a new balance? It's easy. In the whole world, everybody is looking, how can we change the old way of learning and the old way of working to something new? How can we become what I call an engine of innovation? How can our organization become so innovative? It's the same with you, not only education, but your companies and your region, Egypt. How can you become an engine of innovation that disrupts the world so we can solve a lot of problems? And what I see is that this is a switch, and I know for a lot of people,
This is an opportunity for who? For 3D smarts. But for who is it a threat? For all the others. And so what I see is that it's going too slow. And so the bottom line is for me, we have to build an educational system where students are 3D smarts, but also teachers are 3D smarts. Because you can't create an educational system which uses the passion and talents of students if the teachers themselves don't have the passion and talent to teach or to create a learning environment. It's connected. It's not only about students, it's about your organization. So we have to embed 3D smarting. So I started to think about how come it's not possible? And how can we enforce disruption and innovation in organizations? Because it's not only education. So I started to think about it. And I think I found the reason why organizations don't change fast enough. And it's a very dramatic reason. I'm going to try to explain it. And the first thing is, I call this the power defect. And it's a new word. It didn't exist before. The power defect. I'm going to explain what it is. But the first thing you have to understand is the real meaning of the word competence. And I know everybody talks about competence management and becoming competent, but when I was an engineer and started to work in human resources management, everybody was talking about competence. So what I did is, I opened up a dictionary. And in this dictionary, if you look up the word competence, it has two meanings. The first meaning is capable. And capable you become because you have the passion and the talent, and you do this every day, every moment. This is becoming capable. But the second meaning is important also. It means, do you have the authorization? So, competent means you are capable to do it, and you also have the authorization to use it. That, for me, is the real meaning of competence development. So if you think about competence development in these two meanings, then you can make a picture. And the picture is very easy. So what I did is, I said, well, let's put it in a graph, in some 4 quadrants. And I said over here, are you capable? No. Are you capable? Yes. Do you have authorization? No. Do you have authorization? Yes. And then you have 4 quadrants. And the first quadrant is here. You're not capable and you're not authorized. So you have a function description and you're a sheep. Somebody else tells you what you have to do, how you have to do it, and if you want to do it, you have to ask. But what we really need, we need a world with 3D smarts. So we need something else. We need to get there. We need teachers who are very capable and are authorized to create their own learning environment with their children. A lot of teachers are capable, not authorized. You will die. So we have to create an environment where we have a mission and everything, where people have the passion and talent, where they are connected with the world, where they innovate, and they have the responsibility or the authority to do what they want to do. That's 3D smarting. So we have these other 2 places. We have this place. This means people are very capable, but not authorized. It will kill you. There are only 3 solutions. One solution is, if I don't get the authorization, I don't learn anymore. And you start doing meh. Or, if you have a lot of passion and talents, you become sick. That's what we call a burnout. And you know why you get a burnout? Because you don't get dopamine. And dopamine you need. That's the reason you're born. If you can't get into flow within your organization, you will die. Or you leave the company. That's a brain drain. So there are only 3 solutions. But this is a personal drama. This means that it only affects you. But there is a worst case. And the worst case is there. You are not capable, but you're very authorized. And this is killing organizations. So this is not a personal drama. They kill organizations. And what I see today, because the world is changing so fast, and that's what I call Jef principle, but I'm not going to explain it today. The world is changing so fast that people with passion and talent, they move up. And because people are in charge, you don't have to use the passion and talent, they go down, but they don't transfer authority. And this is the error in the system. It's not only the error in the system education, it's also the error in the system in organization. That's what I call the power defect. So what we have to do, we have to create a mentality that we don't say to people, use your passion and talents. But we have to create a mentality that people who don't have the passion and talents in the new stuff give their authority to people who can. You understand what I'm saying? This is one of the biggest challenges every organization in the world is facing. Transfer of authority. Okay. Maybe to women. Or young people. Okay. So the thing is I want to say is, how do you, and most of the people agree. There are a lot of young people who are much better experts than a lot of old people because they never got into the flow with their passion and talents. There are a lot of young teachers who can use digital and a lot of old teachers who can't, but don't allow that the new teachers change education. You can find it in every place. So the question is, how do we do it? How do we create an environment where we kill the power defect? And I think this is one of the most challenging questions not only you as an educational system face, but every organization in the world. How can we kill the power defect so you can create 21st century education? Also, companies can create 21st century working environments. We have to kill the power defect. So when I start thinking about that, I think I found one of the answers. And the thing is, I wrote this book, My Organization is a Journal. If you go to my website, there's a place you can download the book. It's free on the internet in English. So, but I try to explain in that book what we have to do. And I call it the reinvention of innovation. So what we have to do is the following. And I come back to this picture. From continuous improvement to continuous innovation. So if we see this, we are coming from this time frame. We are coming from an age, not much information, let's say 10 years ago, when there wasn't so much information like now. We said, hey, let's go from a blackboard to a whiteboard to a smartboard. And everybody here in this room could understand it, and you could calculate the return on investment. That's consensus. It's very easy. But this is finished. This is finished. Imagine now in 3D, somebody of you says, hey, this year I'm going to be the teacher, but I'm going to ask the students to produce videos, small videos about what I explained, put them online, so next year students can watch the videos. I'm not going to make the videos, but children from 12 years or 10 years or 15 years are going to explain other children how to add, subtract, multiply, physics. It's possible. They know how to produce videos. You put them online. It's free. Then you create a forum where children can ask questions. And the next year, you have flipped classroom. It doesn't cost you any money. It just costs you courage. Now imagine that some of you understand this. And they go to their school and they say,
I want to do that. Do you really think that every teacher is going to understand what you say? No. There are a lot of teachers who are not able to tweet again. There are a lot of teachers who can't produce video. So they don't understand, so they're going to kill it. You have a conflict. And the second conflict you have is you don't know what the return on investment is going to be because it's not done yet. It's new. It's a new experience. So what I'm trying to say is that if education wants to innovate, really innovate, disruptive, you have to go for conflicts. It's the only way. Without conflicts, education won't change. You can't change education with consensus. You have to embrace teachers who come to education and try to sell ideas which you don't understand or you're even afraid of. And so when I try to explain this, I learned from another guy, Jewel Barker, a story about the jungle. And he was talking about the jungle and he said, does anybody know why there is so much biodiversity in the middle of the jungle? And nobody knew. And there were some scientists, new scientists, who said, we think we know. I think the biodiversity of the jungle is coming from the edge, where it crosses other ecosystems. This is what we call open innovation today. And this is what education should do. You shouldn't network with other educational systems. No, you should start networking with other organizations, with other people from other fields, because that's where innovation starts, at the edge. So imagine that you're an organization, and this is a very 3D smart teacher from the jungle. He's a monkey. And he has very passionate and talented eyes. And he starts to talk with people from technology, or old people, or young people. And they are passionate to find a solution. How can we create a learning environment and find the passion and talents of children? And they are so passionate about this stuff that suddenly they say, we have an idea. Let's start with a classroom of children and let them produce videos about what I said. And they call this idea a red monkey. And the red monkey is a disruptive idea that disrupts the balance of an ecosystem. So what happens is, this teacher runs in the middle of the jungle and he says, why don't we make video stories produced by children to explain difficult stuff? And you know what's going to happen? That is going to be killed. Do you know by who? By the red monkey hunters. Do you know who the red monkeys are? Red monkey hunters are no passion, no talent, don't understand what is happening, but they have power. So they kill your red monkey. That's what's happening, and this happens all over the world. Every organization has this power defect because in the organization people got promoted, get a higher salary because of the old paradigm. And now new people, 3D smarts, are born learning every day and they come into the organization with new ideas and the people with power don't understand and they shoot it. That's where innovation and disruption in education stops. So what do you have to do? It's very easy. You have to understand the mechanics of change. You have to understand the same thing I have to understand about learning and transformation. You have to understand what is happening. The moment somebody comes in an organization with a disruptive idea, the organization splits in four. Imagine Sama is a teacher with the bright idea, creating video with children, 10 and 12 years old. She's a creator. Of course you asked me. She's a creator. And the moment Sama comes into the room, then you have four groups, because she's a creator. And then you have the second group. Let's say that's you. You are the pioneers. Do you know what we'll say? Jeez, this is the best idea I've ever heard. Let's work together on that to make it work. Because you can imagine something in your brain that isn't there yet. And the reason why you can imagine it, because you have the same passion and talent. So you say, let's do it. Let's create a group of teachers to try it, to make it work. And then you got the following group, which I call the followers, which are you. You only have one question. Does it already work someplace else? Is there big data? Because you don't understand and you want security. So you don't want to be part of these people. You just want to wait. And then the last group, which is you, so sorry, but you're the settlers. And the only thing you say is, kill it. Kill it. Because if these ideas survive, I have a problem. Because I don't have the passion and talent to embrace this new stuff. And if you have the power, then you have the power defect. You understand what I'm saying? If I come into an organization with an idea and everybody says it's a good idea, it's not innovation, it's continuous improvement. So what do we have to do? We have to accept that innovation in education is a battlefield. It has nothing to do with consensus. It has everything to do with how do you react to your ideas and how are you going to embrace change and disruption. So what do you have to do? You have to accept this. You have to accept that the creators and the pioneers and the followers and the settlers, there's a battle between them, always. The same thing is happening with electric cars, everything. Healthcare, connected people, people who have wearables that measure their health, connected to the cloud, where doctors monitor their health and say, just before you got a heart attack, please come in. It's much cheaper than wait until the heart attack. But how do you do it with doctors who can't use the internet or are afraid of the cloud? Or how do you use artificial intelligence if doctors don't? It's the same stuff. The power defect in healthcare. The power defect in automotives. The power defect in IT. The power defect, it's happening in all organizations at the same time. This is so challenging today. So what happens is this thing. So I started, innovation is a red monkey that has survived the conflict. So what is innovation? Innovation is you have to create an environment where red monkeys can survive. It's your destiny, because if you can't create an environment where red monkeys can survive, education won't survive. You become Nokia. You have to do it. You need the courage to do it. So what does this mean is, I got a recipe for successful innovation in 3D, I think. The first thing you have to do is, you have to produce a t-shirt, and it says, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. You put the logo of your school over there, and over there you put a red monkey. That's merchandise. We make 100 t-shirts, Egyptian t-shirts, and we start a movement to start disruption in education. And the second thing you have to do is never allow people in a change project that don't believe in it. I repeat, never allow people who act as a follower or a settler in a disruptive change project. I don't have to read the tribe. Never. I don't know if you remember Dyson. You know Dyson? With the vacuum cleaner without a bag. You know what I mean? You know? Yeah. So he produced a vacuum cleaner without a bag, a paper bag. So he's a creator. Now imagine he's in a company of vacuum cleaners with bags. And so he comes in and he said, I have a great idea. Let's produce a vacuum cleaner without a bag. That's a conflict, because he comes in with an idea that destroys the business model of the vacuum cleaner company. So the worst thing you can do at that moment is
we don't need a conflict. So you say to Dyson, okay, it's a vacuum cleaner with a bag, but we need consensus, so go and talk with the bag producers. Then we wouldn't have a vacuum cleaner without a bag, because in every vacuum cleaner there would be a small bag, and it would be more expensive than the older bag. And it's the same thing with you. For instance, flipped classroom is a disruptive idea. With flipped classroom, you can change the phase of education. You can personalize it. People with passion and talent go faster. You have to change the culture. But if you do this with people who don't understand flipped classroom, they're just going to produce a video, put it online, and say, we have flipped classroom. Don't merge it. If you merge it, you have a hybrid car. You don't have an electric car. It's the same stuff. So what do you have to do? I think you as an educational system and every organization have to embrace disruption. And this means that you need another mission. That's where it starts. Your mission of education should change. Remember, I told you education was born in a time frame of Industrial Revolution. What we needed in Industrial Revolution was people who could copy the knowledge of other people and the skills. And that's what we call a degree. So what happens, we created an educational system because we knew we needed architects, we needed doctors, we needed nurses, and they went to a system, and these people had to prove they could copy what other people could do. It's a copy machine. But that's not what education should be today. Today the mission of education should change too. Everybody is born with a destiny. Everybody is born with different talents. We should create a system where young people discover their talents. And the moment they discover their talents, we make them passionate about it. And we make them improve themselves with new learning environments so they get dopamine. And the moment young people get into the groove with who they are, they start learning faster and faster and faster. And even when they lose their passion, even when they are still in school, they can change to another course. And that's disruption. But it starts with the mission change. It starts with principals and directors and a government who has courage to change the mission of education. And if you change the mission of education, you can say, let's give us disruptive ideas. And the disruptive ideas will come pouring in. And then you say, well, let's start a video production machine with students. Let's make students produce the content. You will stop with books, you will stop with everything, and then you start with it. And then you say, who will be pioneer? We got this grand idea, who will be pioneer? They can come from my own school, it can be students, can be old students, can be other schools, and before you know it, you have a team with 3D smarts who will make it work so fast with a low budget. They have the passion to suffer. And the moment it works, the followers will say, well, couldn't you have shown it earlier? No, because it wasn't there. And you know what the settlers will say? They will say, I was always against it, but I always believed in it. This is disruption. Okay? So what do we have to do? Mission. Missioning today is the most critical thing in disruption of education. Missioning means we're going to change why we do education. And if you have powerful people who can tell stories about that, then change will happen. Because 3D smarts will say, we have solutions. And then you have to defend red monkeys. So what you have to do, and this is a very important word, you have to talk about respect and 3D together. This means that pioneers and creators have to respect settlers and followers because of two reasons. The first reason is maybe next time you don't understand. And if you don't respect the followers and the settlers,
Who's going to do it the moment it works? And the followers and the settlers have to respect creators and pioneers, because next time you have a red monkey in your passion and talent, and then you don't like to have it shot neither. And if you don't respect the creators and the pioneers, you will die, because lack of innovation. You will become waste. And this is what I call to your respect, and I'm 61 now. I've learned one thing the hard way. There is not something like disruption, we call it, when people are afraid of change, there is not something like resistance to change. It's something we invented ourselves. Do you know when resistance to change starts? When we would tell every teacher at the same time, you have to produce videos with your students. Do you know why? Every teacher is different. So what we have to do is, we have to tell teachers, let the teachers who know how and have the passion to do it, let them try. And you step in the moment you understand. And you step in the moment you can't do anything else. So you have to be disruptive, but organically by defending disruptive people and disruptive ideas. So I'm going to the end. Our consensus model that has worked for ages has to change. And now we have to go to a respectful conflict model. So you have to agree on that. So what I did is, the last story is your story. I think things like this shouldn't talk about consensus. Things like this should bring out disruptive ideas, should build new networks about what we want to do, should build ideas where a lot of people get afraid of. Because if you don't do it, you just continuous improvement of education. I think this is the target of conferences like this. So people should come on stage and tell such disruptive ideas that some people of you get really afraid. Because there's no other way. So I hope that this conference, and maybe a future conference, will be an inspirational source for people who really want to change the world to a better place. But the first thing you have to do is, you have to break for red monkeys. And I got a sticker with me, not for everybody. Thank you for your attention. If you need one, I give them to who I give them. I don't have for everyone, but put it on your car. It's a bumper sticker. You have to break